Pack of hyenas attacked pregnant elephant, then this miracle happened. The sun had barely begun to rise, casting a soft light over the savannah. A lone elephant moved slowly through the tall grasses, her heavy round belly swaying with the burden of her unborn calf. Each step was slow and measured, the weight of her pregnancy making every movement deliberate. She had wandered away from the safety of her herd, seeking water on a quiet stretch of the savannah. Her massive ears flared as she lifted her trunk, sensing something in the air. The savannah was alive with sounds, the gentle rustling of grass and distant calls of birds. But there was something else now, an undercurrent of tension barely perceptible yet unmistakable. The elephant froze. Her body tensed, her trunk reaching out, tasting the air. A low growl echoed in the distance, followed by the soft, deliberate patting of paws across the earth. The first hyena emerged from the brush, its eyes gleaming with hunger. It paused for a moment, its body low and wary. Then another hyena appeared and another, until a pack of 5 had gathered, circling the elephant from all sides. The pregnant elephant turned, her ears flicking back. She stood tall, the weight of her body shifting as she prepared to defend herself. Her tusks glinted in the early morning light as she swung them, testing the air, waiting for the pack to make a move. The hyenas hesitated, sensing her strength. They moved in closer, their steps silent and calculated. The pregnant elephant trumpeted loudly, her voice ringing across the savannah. She swung her massive head, knocking one hyena back, but the others closed in. The savannah, usually so vast and empty, now felt like a prison. The hyenas, sharp and quick, took advantage of her weariness. Though the elephant fought with all the strength her exhausted body could muster, the pack was relentless. They bit at her legs, her flanks, each strike weakening her further. Her movements grew slower, the pain of the attack and the weight of her calf taking a toll. The elephant's trumpets, once strong and commanding, now became softer, more desperate. She staggered, struggling to keep the hyenas at bay. But the numbers were against her, and as she weakened, the hyenas pressed harder, their growls filling the air, their hunger undeniable. The air was thick with tension, the sounds of the hyenas' growls blending with the pregnant elephant's desperate trumpeting. Each cry filled with pain and weariness echoed across the savannah. Her movements had slowed, her strength fading, yet she stood her ground. But the hyenas continued to press in, closing the circle tighter with each passing moment. In the distance, the faint rustle of leaves could be heard. A group of wildlife rescuers, alerted by the distress calls, had begun to move toward the sound. The path was long, and every step felt like it took them further away from hope. But they kept moving, knowing time was against them. The hyenas, emboldened by the elephant's weakness, had begun to take more daring approaches. They snapped at her legs, trying to find a way past her defenses. The elephant's breathing was labored, her body trembling from both exhaustion and the toll of defending herself. Her trunk swung weakly, but her movements grew slower with every passing moment. As the rescuers neared, they saw the scene before them. 5 hyenas circling a massive, pregnant elephant. Her large frame was battered, covered in scratches and bites. Her once powerful presence was now diminished, yet her spirit remained. The savannah, for all its beauty, had become a place of quiet violence. The rescuers quickly assessed the situation. One of them, a quiet, seasoned member of the team, gave a soft command. "We need to scatter them, but be gentle. Move slowly, no sudden movements." Their strategy was clear. They needed to scare off the hyenas without provoking them. The pack was hungry, but the rescuers were prepared to step in. Slowly, with deliberate movements, they approached, keeping their distance while making enough noise to confuse and intimidate the hyenas. The predators hesitated, flicking their ears and narrowing their eyes. It was enough. The hyenas, wary of the human presence, began to retreat into the tall grass. The elephant, though weakened, remained standing. Her head was low, her breathing shallow, but the immediate threat was gone. The savannah had quieted, and for a brief moment the world seemed to hold its breath. The rescuers moved forward carefully, their voices calm and soothing, but firm. One of them approached the elephant slowly, keeping their distance while speaking in soft, low tones. "We're here now," they murmured. "You're not alone." The elephant's ears flicked in response, but she did not retreat. Instead, she reached out with her trunk, gently brushing the rescuer's hand as if to acknowledge their presence. Though she was exhausted and battered, her trust was evident in that small, quiet gesture. The rescuers took the opportunity to get closer, moving with respect, assessing the elephant's condition. They had no time to waste. Her injuries were numerous, but the most pressing concern was the health of the calf. The elephant had not yet fallen, but her body trembled with each breath. As the hyenas vanished into the savannah, the elephant stood, still steady on her feet, but it was clear she needed help. The rescuers worked quickly and efficiently, knowing that the next steps would determine if both mother and calf could make it through this ordeal. The savannah had been harsh, but for now, the miracle was in the possibility of rescue. The sun began its slow descent, casting a warm golden light over the savannah. The air, heavy with the day's heat, had started to cool, but the tension of the past hours hung thick. The elephant stood, her breathing steady but shallow, her body still marked by the attack. The pain from the assault was visible, but she was not alone. The rescuers, working together with calm precision, had managed to get the elephant into a safer position. Their hands moved carefully, offering her water and gently tending to her wounds. They spoke in quiet, soothing tones, never rushing, never forcing. The elephant's body twitched occasionally, but she remained still, allowing them to work. There was no fear in her gaze, only a quiet recognition that, for now, she was safe. With every tender touch, the rescuers could feel the elephant's strength slowly returning. Yet beneath that quiet strength was the obvious exhaustion of a mother whose body had been pushed past its limits. Her trunk swayed gently, brushing against one of the rescuers' legs, seeking comfort. It was an intimate, unspoken gesture, a connection formed not by words, but by the shared experience of vulnerability and trust. The sky, now painted in hues of orange and purple, seemed to hold its breath as the savannah began to quiet. The faint sounds of birds calling echoed in the distance, and the rustle of the wind moving through the tall grass softened. Everything seemed still, waiting for what would come next. Then, just as the first stars began to appear, the elephant shifted. The rescuers stopped, eyes wide with anticipation. They could see the signs, the soft tightening of her body, the slow movement of her legs, and the subtle deepening of her breaths. The calf was coming. The moment felt suspended in time. The savannah, though vast and often unforgiving, seemed to draw closer, as if the earth itself was holding its breath in anticipation of this small, miraculous life. With a final, powerful push, the calf emerged, its small body trembling with the effort. The mother elephant, though weary, reached out with her trunk and gently nudged the newborn, guiding it toward her. There was a soft, low cry, a tiny but hopeful sound as the calf struggled to lift itself. It took a few wobbly steps, but with the mother's encouragement, it slowly found its balance. The miracle was unfolding before the rescuers' eyes. A mother and her newborn, fragile yet strong, were now standing together in the fading light. The elephant, despite the pain and the trauma she had endured, stood tall again, her large body protecting her calf from the harsh world. The rescuers, though deeply moved, knew their work was done. The mother and calf were safe, and the savannah had witnessed something rare, a moment of life where before, there had been only struggle and fear. As the night settled, the rescuers stepped back, leaving the elephant and her calf to bond in peace. They watched silently as the two moved slowly into the grass, the calf staying close to its mother, who moved with quiet confidence. The savannah, now bathed in moonlight, had returned to its natural rhythm. The harshness of the day had passed, and with it, the miracle of survival. The elephants, mother and calf, walked into the night together, their steps steady, their bond unbroken. And in that stillness, the rescuers carried with them the quiet miracle of life, knowing that sometimes the wild reveals its tender side in the most unexpected of ways.